Welcome to Dead Headspace. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and every other major platform. I am your host, Patrick R. McDonough, joined always by my co-host, Brennan LaFaro. Say hi, Brennan.
Hello.
And today we have a pretty unique circumstance. We are recording our second episode in the same day as recording another episode. What a silly thing to say. We're recording two episodes in the same day. We're going with Michael Clark. Sir, how are you today?
I'm back, and thank you for having me. Unexpected. I have no notes. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
I
Let's
got
do
no,
it.
I got no clue what we're going to talk about because
Yeah.
this
That
is
makes absolutely three of us.
we
Perfect.
literally talked about recording an episode about 30 minutes ago. All three of us were drinking, so we said, why not? So today we would like to ask you not what got you into horror, but what are you currently working on after your trilogy?
I am working on two books at once, kind of thing. I have an idea for a book about. I won't give away the main idea, but the setting I won't give away. But it involves new characters, so I have to reinvent everything. Um, And then I have a second book where I will introduce characters that I've already invented that will interact with characters from, let's call the new book, book four, and then the second book, book five, because I've written three. So book five will have somebody from books two and three interacting with somebody from book four, if that's not too confusing.
No, I heard you talk about that, and it's kind of you're almost writing two books that I mean, this is kind of what you just said, but two books that interact with each other. Now, I'm curious, is that kind of a shared universe that may at some point interact with the Patience of a Dead Man trilogy?
In a way, yes. You read books two and three in Patience of a Dead Man. And by the way, I'll just take a second to say that I'm going to be releasing a book. It's going to be called The Patience of a Dead Man Complete, that has all three books in one book. And I've just submitted it to the guy that makes the covers. And it's like all three books together, when you take all the white space out of the chapters and stuff, like Amazon has a page limit that they'll print for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be 778 pages, all three books, with a brand new cover. Just because I heard I think it was your episode with Ken McKinley, who's like, why do people make trilogies?
Yeah, that
That
was
was,
us.
yeah. And I was like, shit, he's right. Like book three does not sell as well as book one and book two. So um, I'm putting out another book just in case people hate trilogies and they want to buy it all in one. And so like I said, I cut the page count by getting rid of the white space, and that's coming out. Anyway, Brandon, you read books two and three. Patrick's not there yet because we know he reads slow, and so do I, Patrick.
He's
No, no.
planning to get there by 2024, though.
Ye-
Did you call him Brandon?
I said
No,
Brennan.
he called me Brennan.
Yeah.
I had one headphone on. Well, I had the left side on.
You've
Sorry, I'm
also
right.
had one beer and it went straight to your cerebrum.
You guys are good. Seriously, there's a humor between you.
Well,
It's
hopefully we can be written into a slapstick comedy where Brennan slaps me with sticks and
It's actually a really easy, symbiosis. I'm a complete asshole and he doesn't take offense.
I think it's your Mo and he's Curly.
Kind of like my way better, but okay, I'll take it.
Well, I guess Mo is kind of a dig, but only because of the hair. You don't have that hair. Anyway, so you remember Andrew Vaughn from books two and three? He's a funeral home owner,
Of course.
and he's haunted by his mother, and he's going to be the star of book 5, and I see him interacting with the people from book 4 who are all new people that you don't know yet.
Mhm.
So I kind of see going back to this Andrew Vaughn guy as kind of like a every other book kind of a thing, maybe.
Mhm.
What happened to Patrick? He's gone.
He's going to get more drinks
Oh, good for
because
him.
he's not incoherent enough.
Maybe he's getting a tea. Yeah, so that's what that's, it sounds like, ooh, I'm writing 2 books at once. It's wow, that's great. But it's really kind of like book 4 will be all new, and I call it book 4 because I haven't written it yet. And book 5 will be um, a different angle looking at some of the characters in book 4. So there will be like things like that make sense that you're like, oh, I didn't know that about that character when I read book 4. That kind of a thing, like a different
Mhm.
take on um, on those people in that book.
Yep.
And I know that's vague, but I can't give away the premise of book 4.
No, that's fair. We recently talked to somebody who didn't like to talk at all about what they were working on. So, I mean, even just getting a glimpse at it with you is that's an improvement. Now, Andrew Vaughn in the second. Did I mess up the last name? I feel like I messed up the last
No,
name.
that's right.
Is it Vaughn?
Vaughn.
Okay. In the second book, I found him so intriguing because I feel like he just came out of nowhere. And every time you read a short little chapter, because Dead Woman Scorned is so full of these just 1 to 2 page chapters, you're thinking, okay, you're so intrigued by how does this character fit into the main story, because at that point you've already read like 3 to 400 pages, maybe even more than that, about the story of Tim and Mildred. And all of a sudden, there's just this character out of left field that doesn't seem to have any connection. I really enjoyed those chapters because I'm paying extra attention to see how this character could possibly work into the fold of the rest of it. And then, of course, by the time the credits roll on book 2, and by the time we get into book 3, Patrick, no spoilers, I promise.
There's
We're
3 books.
okay. Mild spoilers, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
For
Mild
those
spoilers
that can't
tend to
see
not
me
pay attention.
laughing, for audio listeners, I'm laughing. I know there's 3 books.
And
He's
he's
not
wasted.
laughing. He's not laughing. He's smiling a
I'm
little
not.
bit.
I'm not wasted yet.
Okay. So when Andrew Vaughn figures back into book 3 and we start to not only see how he fits into the main narrative, but also, what exactly is going on with him, it's very, very interesting. So with that, here's where we do tiptoe on that spoiler line, so I won't really go any further, but with what, ends up happening with him, I am definitely interested in exploring his story further, Mike.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten there yet. Like I'm really working on the 4th book, the new story. The Patrick, if you missed it, I know you were getting a tea, but the 4th book is a brand new story with all new characters, and the 5th book. Can you hear? Are you muted? I think he's muted. Can you hear me?
Patrick, we're talking to you, man.
You can hear me, Brendan, right?
I can hear you.
I was
Okay.
talking to my wife.
Okay. I see your lips moving. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I was talking
Something's
to
happening here. I don't know who can't hear who.
Sorry.
Anyway, the book 4 is like all new characters, all new people. Nobody knows who they are. But book 5, and I'm catching Patrick up here because he was getting a tea. But
I don't know what that means.
you said you were gonna get a tea to drink.
Oh yeah, I got a beer.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right.
You should have
Beer.
gotten a Gatorade. Good electrolytes.
Oh, dude, I don't have any, but that's a great idea, actually.
I always have Gatorade.
Aren't those
You
meant for
want
like?
I can put one in the mail tomorrow. It'll be there by Tuesday.
Yeah. Good luck. Don't mail anything nowadays. They took away the sorters.
It'll be there by October.
Aren't those meant for like athletes?
I stand up.
Anyway,
I walk.
the fifth book, the second book I'm working on now. I count the first three as already done. Book 4 is all new characters. Book 5 is Andrew Vaughn, basically, from The Patience of a Dead Man, book 2 and 3, which you haven't read yet. And he is going to interact with the people from book 4. Okay. So he is a guy that owns a funeral home. He's got a little bit of a backstory. He's haunted by his mother. She's pissed at him. And as far as like writing about him in book 5, I haven't like touched that yet because I'm writing book 4. But he plays a huge role in book 3, the one that's already written. Anger is an Acid. And to get ready to write about him in book 5, I did go tour a funeral home. Did I tell you guys that?
No.
I heard it on another podcast. Maybe
That's right. I told Shane and Inkheist. But yeah, I toured a funeral home just because he's a funeral home guy. That was kind of a trip. Saw a couple of dead bodies I wasn't expecting to, and was in the embalming room and learned all kinds of things about. There's all kinds of different embalming fluids and stuff. It was kind of cool. I'm off topic already.
Wait, no. Let's focus on that real quick.
Yeah.
Seriously, you saw a dead body. Was that your first dead body that you saw?
No, I mean, I've seen, a couple family members and stuff, and, but I mean, I called up this funeral home and they were very cool and very respectful to, the dead and everything. They didn't, it wasn't like a, anything disrespectful. But, I got the full tour of this place. I saw boxes of ashes that were never reclaimed by families, that are still upstairs. And I saw, a couple of dead bodies. I saw, the makeup counter. I saw the embalming room. I saw all the tools. I saw, like, he gave me like a rundown of all the different kinds of embalming fluids there are. Like, hey, this one you use if you find a guy in a snowbank, and this one you use if they were on, if they had cancer and they were with chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
Just different kinds of things I never even thought of, and now I feel like
though, that it's that deep.
That's what I thought, But now I feel like I can write about it and I can also refer back to him, and give it a little bit more depth than I would if I just made it up in my own head.
What was the point of the different fluids? Because I got no idea about any of that stuff.
Just because, like, different bodies have different circumstances, I guess. Like, he's like, you don't want to go, like, this has nothing to do with embalming fluids, but he's like, those guardrails on highways, those are like knives, like sometimes you got to go find a leg in the woods. And another thing is, like, 80% of the deaths are at night. And so they have to go and pick up a body. And I still need to ask the guy, like, okay, you're on call all year long. You've got to get up 80% of the time to do your job in the middle of the night to go get a dead body. How do you get the body out of the house? It's like, I mean, wouldn't that be the worst job ever? Does one person go into a house and remove a body by himself? With the family watching? I can't picture that. I need to get back to him about it. I have this note, like, posted on my computer right now, like, hanging from it. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And I'm probably straying from your original question.
That's okay. I've forgotten my original question.
Right.
I don't know what it was either.
Actually, I'm curious, and I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'm also going to say it's okay to tell me completely no. So, I mean, it's the new books are definitely Patience of a Dead Man trilogy adjacent, but do you have any hints you can give us as far as title, even if it's just, an acronym or something like that. You could call them T-Pong.
Uh-huh.
Show it to
Actually,
Haley
no,
Piper,
sorry.
Nothing
right?
is as
I was
cool
going to
as
say
T-Pong.
that one might be taken.
Yeah.
Just because it feels weird to call it book 4 and book 5 because it makes it sound like it's the next installment in the series.
No, it's not. It's not part of that. Neither one is. I'll tell you what. Well, book 4 is nothing to do with Patience of a Dead Man at all. So it's kind of like a break from that completely.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll give you the acronym, and I gave it to Ink Heist already. I'm sorry if it's not an exclusive, but
That's okay. You'll find
it's
another exclusive for us.
You know what? No, we're scrapping this episode, man.
well, you're about to go to sleep anyway.
It's cool. I'll ask him questions, and we'll have video of you. I have no idea how it works because usually Patrick records the episodes, and I just show up for them. I have no idea how it works if he falls asleep in that chair right there.
Oh, could be a
no.
6-hour episode.
It's certainly embarrassing for the guest. I mean, that's for sure.
The outtakes will be me saying, "Wake up, Patrick. Wake up. It's over." The acronym for book 4 is TG, the number 5. I did that for Haley Piper's benefit just to try to beat T-Pong, but I know it doesn't come close. TG5MU.
TG5.
So there's your acronym.
Okay.
I can't tell you what it means though yet, because that's the whole point of the story. Like that would give away the setting.
Mm-hmm.
Book 5, I'm thinking of starting like I told you, it could be every other kind of a thing. Like I could come back to it. It could be, every once in a while. Who knows? I'm thinking of calling it The Foggy Orchard Funeral Home, Volume 1. Because that's the name of the funeral home in The Patience of a Dead Man that he works at. And then like I do Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4. But, I would be open to suggestion from editors or whatever, that kind of thing. But it would be set around the funeral home, because I think a funeral home would be, we had 6 Feet Under, and then Chad Lutsky had Stirring the Sheets. But I don't know too many others that have, refresh my memory if you can think of one. Like a horror story set in a funeral home.
I can't, and I mentioned 6 Feet Under on a recent episode, and I don't even remember which episode, but we were talking about series that had a good finale, or like a really, yeah. So, and I don't think anybody I was talking to had watched 6 Feet Under, but really great finale. But, even going back, really great show. So no, I can't think of any other books or TV shows or even movies that really delve into that business, even beyond just, I haven't seen it, but The Autopsy of Jane Doe comes to mind, but that's more of a specific instance versus
yeah, that's a good point. A good example.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I watched that.
That's all I got to contribute.
It wasn't great, but it was good. And I don't remember the finale of 6 Feet Under, but I remember watching several episodes, and it wasn't horror. It was like kind of like a soap opera, right? Wasn't it?
It was definitely closer to drama. It wasn't horror. I will agree with that.
Yeah, but it was good. I watched it. It was kind of just kind of a bummer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
a horror movie,
so.
You can Google things that happen like in a funeral home, and it's just like it's incredible what people see. Like when I went to the funeral home, the guy told me I'm like, have you ever seen anything where rigor mortis sets in and the corpse sits up or something like that? And he's like, no, but I've gone and I've gotten a body at 2 a.m, and then I get back to the embalming room, and I've got the guy on the table, and I'm about ready to start, because you got to start right away. And then you see the first 3 fingers twitch, really quickly, and it's like it catches your eye while you're looking at your tools or whatever, and I'd be out right there, 2 in the morning, you're alone in a funeral home, and you see the corpse actually move.
Yeah, it's creepy.
No question. That's not the job for me.
No, no. And there's stories like that times 1,000. Like another thing that the guy told me was that he'd had mediums that were part of a funeral. They'd be attending a funeral, and they'd come to him and say, there's somebody upstairs right now, and crap like that. Just that kind of creepy stuff.
I don't love that. I don't. I
love it. I love to read about it,
yeah.
As
long as it stays on the page, we're good.
Yeah.
Real quick, because we're talking about ghost mediums. When I read Whispers in the Dark, I got the paperback. I bought it directly from Laurel Hightower, but before that, I had the Laurel sent me a e-copy, and I read that while I was at work. And I work for a wastewater treatment plant, and I work throughout my county, but the actual plant is like a 4 or 5 story building. At night, the operators know and talk about this pretty much a ghost at 3 a.m.
It's a shit ghost? Sorry, I ruined your story.
So in the building, in a lot of rooms, you can't. It's continual whirling and loud noise because I work in an industrial setting, so you can't ever hear silence. So potentially there could always be someone like right behind you. I was reading Whispers in the Dark, and there was this part where it was describing this scene in a bedroom. And I just had to look over my shoulder. And I just loved that shit. It creeped me out. I had to stop reading it until I got back to the area where other people were. Living people were. And it was at night. And I just... Oh, goodness.
That's a good way to read that book.
I'm getting off track. But my goodness, what a fun experience that was.
Yeah.
No, Patrick, the thing is that the nice thing is about this episode is we have no track. We're a train running down the fucking dirt, man. Actually, I'll share my experience with that same book.
Sure.
I work at a 5 months ago I used to. I assume I will again someday. I worked at a store where I would teach, piano lessons, guitar lessons. And if I was the last one there, it was my job to lock up. And probably from the front door to the back door, you'd lock the front door, turn off all the lights, turn off all the computers, and you'd go out the back and let it lock behind you. And probably 30 feet. And I remember finishing, or not even finishing, being in the middle of Laurel's book the first time the shadows come to life is the word that comes to mind, but You have to read it to really experience exactly what she writes about. I remember turning off all the lights at the front door.
The basement, right?
The basement, man. And looking down this 30-foot hallway that's just pitch black and being like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Walking down it anyway, tiptoeing, creeping, step by step, and being like, this is how a well-written book should affect you. And I think I mentioned this on the last episode, Mike, that we had you on, but I remember the next time post that a book really made the hair stand up on my arms is when Tim is in that house and he's just hearing footsteps above him, footsteps in the next room.
Book one?
I appreciate that because that's all I want. That's all I go for.
Visceral, that visceral horror.
Yeah, Mike, what you did in book one, which I did read, the thing that you do, yay! The thing that I love in ghost stories and haunted houses is when they play with your senses, which super random probably, but Alfred Hitchcock did that phenomenally. For example, I forget the title of the film, but there was one where he had his audience experience like a little vibration where I believe they could hold this certain handheld thing and it would vibrate when you were having a jump scare. Um, it's just awesome because it's a book. I'm visualizing something probably similar to you or Brennan or whomever else. But at the same time, like we're getting creeped out at probably the same thing. And another thing I just want to say about book one, we already talked about it in your first episode, but that scene in the kitchen, geese are involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me that was the first scene that you saw.
No,
Did,
no, not that one. The first one was the first night he's home alone, and it's his first night. He's gonna work 18-hour days fixing this old house, and he's gonna do this as long as it takes to, you know, turn it around and sell it. And then, you know, night number one, he's running the saw and whatever, and then he turns around and there's a little ghost kid behind him. So yeah, that was my thing, because you're in the middle of the wilderness, of nowhere. You know, you're down a dark dirt road, and you got you know, somebody in your house. You thought you were alone, and he runs. You know, so then you figure out what happens after you run. You know, you could either get, you know, you could either confront the ghost, you could run, but sooner or later there's got to be, you know, real life reaction to that. And you know, the scene goes from there. Like, he really goes through what I would have done probably.
hmm.
Like, he does go back because he can't go to a bar. He can't go to a hotel because, you know, I mean, he could for the night, I guess, but then he'd still have to go back. And he's questioning himself. You know, did I really see what I saw? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was the first scene that I wrote.
Did you experience anything
No,
supernatural?
no, no, no. I just love scary stuff. I've never seen anything supernatural. Uh, don't know that I believe in it. I guess I would if I saw it, but if somebody writes something like that, or, you know, if I read something like that, or if I see something like that in a movie, I can totally relate. And um, you know, sometimes I dream stuff about that kind of stuff too, and it all comes down to uh, the best part is the drama before the confrontation.
Hmm.
And I try to prolong that when I'm writing. You know, I try not to, you know, like monsters and, you know, that kind of thing. Like, they're gonna bite you, or whatever. But the best part is, and Patrick, you and I shared a few of these little blurbs from some professionals about how the best part is you don't show the monster. Like, it
Yes.
was Ridley Scott from Alien
Yep.
and Steven Spielberg from Jaws. Like, the shark just wasn't working, so they started filming.
Mm-hmm.
And it made the movie scarier because you can't
Yep.
see the damn thing. And Ridley Scott did it on purpose. You don't show the alien. You know, he looks like part of the spaceship. His head looks like a pipe. You know, that kind of thing. It just it makes the imagination work harder. And I think that's the key. You need to prolong that as much as possible. And if you have a confrontation, you better like resolve that to the reader's satisfaction. And I try to do that. Like, I call bullshit on all kinds of movies. Like, nope, I wouldn't have done that. You know, like, I'm a critic when it comes to that. And I'm I started writing basically to try to rewrite that kind of the cliches that have been told time after time after time. And
Patrick, I'm
I
gonna
don't know all
flip.
the answers. Sorry.
I'm gonna flip something on its head, you know, just for fun because you're at least 5 beers deep at this point. I have watched you
Couple
ask
lines.
a few people, probably 3, 4, 5, 6 people, have you ever had any kind of experience? I'm going to flip that on you. How about you?
Have I had
With
a paranormal experience?
Oh, I'm putting it on Patrick. Michael, you
Oh, there
already
you
answered
go.
that
Okay.
question, so now we're throwing it to Patrick.
Yes.
nah.
You know all about
This-
the outlets in your hallway and your staircase.
I just like how your answer is nah.
I haven't. I haven't any supernatural thing. I've lived in the Bridgewater Triangle my the first 26 years of my life. I just never experienced anything worth noting ever. I wish I had a story. I don't.
I
That's
wish
too
I did
bad, man.
too. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
too. I mean, it would. I don't know what it would do for my writing if I really did. Like if you really saw something, what would it do? Would it change the physics of the way you write it, that kind of thing? Because like Mildred has, I've had people be like, I had somebody give me like a 2-star review, and they're like, "Ghosts don't do that," and I wanted to write, "She's not a fucking ghost," Spoiler alert, but they didn't finish the book. And there were things like she kills a guy in the woods, but she returns him to a spot that on the lawn that just makes him look like he had a heart attack. And then I explain all that in book 2. That's what I tried to do. I'm like, oh, I made myself a mess here. I need to kind of like figure out the rules, and they're all new rules, like because you know have you seen anything, Brennan?
Um. Okay. So yes, but so I have and actually, Patrick, you might recognize this. I finished a novella a few months ago, I'd say, and I edited it, and I did a second pass on it, and I did a third pass on it, and I have it in the hands of beta readers now. But Patrick was kind enough to read the first 30 pages to see if it was a fucking mess.
Far
So
from it.
They're all
thank
a
you.
mess to begin with.
Well, yeah, hopefully by the third edit, it's less of a mess. So he says
Okay.
far from it. I appreciate that, wholeheartedly and very sincerely. Um, and there's a scene that happens in the first 30 pages, and I won't go into spoilers in case it ever actually hits, somebody's bookshelf. But there's a flash of light, and there's a creature, character, ghost, specter, whatever you want to call it, that is hunched over with a trench coat, inch from the floor, dirty nails, bare feet, just, hunched over in the corner. Really, hopefully I was able to translate it well to paper, but scary as hell in my imagination. I lived in an apartment in Fall River with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and she was visiting family in Oregon at the time. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I should also preface, she had said, I don't like this place. I don't have a good feeling from this place. We had other people over who kind of had the same thing. I kind of wrote it off being like, yeah, you're full of shit. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night, looking over, at the door, because this is a little studio apartment, and just seeing this figure in a trench coat hunched over back to me, with, dirty and grimy, and there is every chance in the fucking world. By the way, I wasn't drinking. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in there.
Well,
I wasn't.
Was there any chance that it was Patrick?
It was not Patrick.
Okay.
I was years from having met him. I don't
I
think he
did
lived in
have-
New Jersey at the time. Actually, now that I'm thinking of it,
No,
might have
I
been.
did have friends at Fall River there.
He has a
so.
trench
Yeah,
coat.
exactly. He might have sent somebody. So I mean, I'm
I have
gonna
a
go
peacoat.
ahead and just throw out there. There is every possibility that it was, a bit of underdone potato, more of the gravy than the grave. But it doesn't matter to
How many
me
seconds
because
did that last for you? I need to know. Like you're looking at this thing. How many seconds?
That's what she said.
I say at a Christ, man. There is nothing more Patrick McDonough 5 beers deep than me saying, this is probably the only time that on the podcast I'm going to talk about this, and you'd be like, that's what she said. That is you in a nutshell. All right,
Michael,
real quick, this is where you say, no, this is me in a nutshell. Help, I'm in a nutshell.
How did I get here?
Yeah. So I would say like 30 seconds, but I don't know.
That's a lot.
What I do know is that I locked the door behind me and went to stay at my parents' house until my wife came back from Oregon. Whether it was a figment of my imagination or not, it's that image is just absolutely embossed in my imagination. And that would have been like 05, 06. So that would have been 14, 15 years ago. And I'm never going to forget it. I, actively, the first time I tried to write a ghost story, tried to put it in there. So again,
That's
whether
cool,
I
though.
actually had an experience
that's
or not.
Bordentown, right? Lizzie Borden.
That is Lizzie Bordentown. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was one of her parents with 41 wax or 40 wax, but so again, like my takeaway from that is not was it real or was it not, but just the way that it stuck with me.
I got one
30
story.
seconds. Sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
I was a kid. I was in my bed. I didn't sleep with the lights out because nighttime creeps me out because I don't know what's in the dark. So the lights were on, and I saw the shadow that to this very day, it was like 10 or 11, and I look up, I'm staring at the ceiling. It's the shadow that looks like Spider-Man, and I saw it crawl like Spider-Man, and that's the only time I saw that. Another moment in that time of my life, I definitely felt like the bed was being shaken by someone, like vibrating as if there were two hands gripped on each side of the end of the bed, just like pulling as hard as it could up and down for a few minutes. I was like, okay. I definitely felt that. I was at the young age where I was not under any substance, so I definitely experienced that sober. That's it. That's all I got.
I felt compelled to put that in my version either. Like, look, I realized that, we've been talking about drinking on this episode for, X number of minutes so far. I want you to know that despite the fact that I was 21 at the time, I was not actually indisposed with, alcohol or any other substance that you could imagine. Michael, I'm going to take it back to you. So it's weird. You and I and, even Patrick, to a degree, we all kind of stumbled upon the Twitter horror community around the same time. And I know that speaking for me, it kind of changed my reading habits. My initial thing that I was going to say was, I think it's so cool that you are building a universe. And I do think that's cool. But then I realized that a lot of the stories I read, and I'm thinking specifically of the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, I don't read the way that I read like a year ago now. I try and get to as many different things as possible because there's just so goddamn much out there. But even if I haven't read anything that kind of has that shared universe mythos, I still find it so cool. I know that Todd Kiesling, Michael, have you read Devil's Creek yet? I know you haven't.
No, I have. Yeah, 5 stars.
Great book. Yeah, 5 stars, easy.
Creepy as
and
fuck.
Definitely one of the best things that's come out this year.
Yep.
He tends to set short stories in or around Stafford, things that kind of take place in that universe, and I absolutely love things like that.
Yeah, I'm reading Midnight in the Graveyard right now, and he's got a short story in there that is related to Devil's Creek too, and I thought that was cool because I read that after Devil's Creek.
Yeah, so you're gonna pick up. See, I read it before Devil's Creek, so I didn't pick up on that.
Right.
But I believe, and I could be totally off base, that his story in Midnight in the Pentagram also has a tie there. So, that was my initial thought when you said I'm kind of writing novels that don't pertain directly to the Patience of a Dead Man. You could read novel number 4, TG5MU. Did I get
Yeah.
that right? Oh, look at
Let
that.
me look. Let me TG5. Yes, I wrote it down. Yep.
Oh, cool. If I have to get the author to check, then that's
TG
good.
is the ghost. I'll tell you that. I'll give you that. You have more than anybody else. The ghost.
The Ghost
Fucking told you
5.
we'd get
The
an
ghost
exclusive.
5.
I told you we'd get an exclusive.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So to me, that's it sounds like you could probably start with TG5MU, but at the same time, that tangential connection to the Patience of a Dead Man trilogy, I absolutely love stuff like that. Now, in your reading or movie watching or horror or even, any kind of fiction experiences, is that something that jumps out at you or something that just kind of happened?
Well, I love Easter eggs. I think that's cool. I've also had like a couple of people, like, friends and family basically, that have read my books twice. And they're like, "Oh, I loved it so much better the second time because now I knew what you were talking about when there's because I make a hell of an outline. Like that's my favorite part is
Mhm.
making an outline, and I do it with Airtable. It's a website, and it's kind of like a Excel and slash database kind of a thing where you can sort dates and everything, so you can make sure you get everything right. So before I start writing, I use that, and oh god damn, I'm losing my train of thought here, but like the the universe, I love doing that. Just because it's easier to write, I think. If you don't have to like reinvent, I'm finding like with book 4 that I have to. It's going much slower than book 2 and book 3 did because you have to start from scratch. And with book 5, it's probably going to go a hell of a lot faster because I already know the folks in book 4, and book 5, like I know him from book 3 and book 2.
Mhm.
So yeah, I do like to do that, and it's more for ease. But I am finding that I have to stay locked in the 1971 kind of time frame, the 70s,
Yeah.
which I also like for another reason, and that is because I kind of find that cell phones and technology are not scary to me. Like I hate that kind of stuff. Maybe I still need to watch The Host. I stopped listening to your episode in the car. I think it was Wednesday.
Ka.
In the car because Brennan's like, if you haven't seen Host, why are you listening to this podcast right now? And I'm like, yeah, why the hell am I listening to this podcast?
That's a good point. What am I doing with my life?
Yeah, so I shut it off until I watch Host. So yeah, that in a nutshell, I do like writing in that. It just makes it easier to write if you know the characters. I also read something by some other author from another genre saying that they wished they had um, linked their books together a little bit more.
Mhm.
It just makes you already know the people, and you don't have to reinvent them, and you can picture how they interact with other characters. Um, and then you were talking about reading habits on Twitter and that kind of thing, and I just wanted to touch on that a little bit in as far as yeah, I'm totally into what's coming out now. Like I just got Mallory. I haven't read it yet. I have Crossroads. I haven't read it yet. I have All That's Fair. Thanks to your podcast, basically by S.H. Cooper. I can't wait to read that.
That's
That's
awesome.
a
And
real good one. You should
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
See, those are all good ones, but I would prioritize All That's Fair, I think.
yeah.
okay, I will do that because I'm on midnight in the graveyard right now, and I'm getting to know the writers. Like I imagine that I might meet these people at a convention someday, and it's kind of nice to see um, their first my first taste of them, and it's not like a novel. Because if I were to read everybody's novel, it might, I might be like in Patrick R. McDonough mode, and I, maybe 2025.
Oh, fucking burn.
What a dickhead. We surely shouldn't have this guy on anymore.
Yeah, fuck him. Fucking masshole.
No, I agree. That's such a great table of contents, and it's funny because I think there are 25 stories in there. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to completely cut you off in the middle of what you were saying. No. But and then to hear Pentagram has even more.
32 was it?
Something like that. Yeah, I mean that's the. Even before I get it in my hands, that's the anthology to watch every year or however often, Ken McKinley plans on putting that out. And by the way, we mentioned Ken McKinley, so we do get our royalties for today. We have to mention him every episode, or he, sends.
Does he know that I'm just joking with him about the, pouring the blueberry beer on the pancakes and all that stuff?
He doesn't. He absolutely hates you, Mike.
Yeah, actually, I was going to echo that. And to make a random statement, if you can see my video for audio listeners, I have a door in the background. Josh Mallerman said the other night that he's doing all these weird voices, and it's funny as hell. But at one point, he said that he could see himself going in there and just stabbing me. So just want to throw that random image in your mind.
Yeah. Truth be told, I have absolutely no idea if he knows you're kidding with pouring beer all over your pancakes, but I have to assume that he knows you're kidding because only an absolute crazy person would pour beer on pancakes.
Yeah. I was referring to like your first podcast with him. He was drinking like a maple something and whatever.
He's always drinking something good, even if I have something I'm happy with. I'm currently drinking Jack's Abbey Leisure Time Wheat, and it's good. But I bet if Ken was with us, he would be drinking something more interesting, more delicious, more expensive.
But he's got that anti-IPA thing, which, like, there's this resurgence or whatever, this explosion of New England style IPA. Which,
he's in Michigan. He doesn't get it.
Yeah,
what a douche.
I'm drinking Cloud Candy right now by a brewery, Mighty Squirrel, in Waltham.
Yeah,
they have a hell of a I wish I could show you on the camera because I don't have one going, but
this is an audio show.
It's delicious.
For audio listeners, Brendan is drinking Jack's Abbey from Framingham. Michael Clark is drinking Squirrel. Mighty
Squirrel. Cloud Candy by Mighty Squirrel.
Squirrel nuts
from Waltham. And Patrick is drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Nah, it's Bud Light. I wish though. Pabst has more alcohol content.
Dear Lord.
Well, I was having Sierra Nevada.
You should have just
Ken McKinley would make fun of that.
You should have just let me go with Pabst there.
Wait, what's McKinley drink?
He drinks all kinds of like exotic. I want to say things like kind of like Sam Cherry Wheat, like they're sweeter. As far as I know, I've heard like two or three things he's been drinking, and I'm not stalking you, Ken.
Usually have that fruit aspect to it, blueberry or cherry or whatever. So he likes the sweet beers and he does not like the IPAs. But as we've established, he buys them anyway and stores them in his garage because he is a serial killer.
He buys IPAs and stores them?
He does. He buys
IPAs.
It's yeah, exactly. It's well established lore that Ken McKinley buys IPAs, drinks one of them, takes a picture of himself making an ugly face at what the IPA tastes like, just to send it to Tim Meyer and anyone on Twitter who's interested, and then puts the other 5 in his garage to wait for the apocalypse, I guess.
Mike, do you have any final things you want to chat about, sir?
I just want to talk for like another hour. That's about all I want to do. No,
Patrick has to get up early to go to shovel poop.
Oh God, no! That's an actual job, but that is thankfully not my job.
No, I just appreciate you having me on. I don't really have anything, hot, off the presses or anything. So it's cool the impromptu convo was nice, and I look forward to continuing to be part of the Twitter horror community.
Absolutely. And we're thrilled to be able to share with listeners, that it really enjoyed, whether it was The Patience of a Dead Man, the second one, or even just the entire trilogy, that, if they kind of like that style, if they like the characters, especially if they attach to Andrew, that they can kind of look forward to a continuation of that in some way, shape, or form in your next writing. They don't have to worry that, Michael Clark is going to go off the deep end and write us some sort of like detective series or something like that.
No, I'll try to keep it, creepy. And I guess the newest or the next thing is not really a new thing at all, but it's that 3-in-1 big chunker of a brick of a book that will be coming out sometime soon, with all 3 books in one volume. And yes, I will not have it be $45. I will reduce the price.
Where can people follow you?
Real quick, where can people follow you? You said sometime soon, but do you have any kind of idea on when that might be?
Well, I submitted it to the book cover guy today, so let's say, probably a week on Amazon, but, I'll get my author copies in, late December. No, just joking about that. But, Amazon sucks with their shipping, so it'll be available soon. It's in the works. It's like it's done and ready to go. Of course, it was written long ago, but it's been submitted. So I would say that if the guy's done, depending on his schedule, if he's not on vacation, a week or 2.
Okay. Well, everybody sucks with shipping because there's an orangutan wearing a very fucking bad wig who is fucking up the post office. Michael, where can people follow you?
MichaelClarkBooks.com. I am on Twitter at Mike Clark Books because Michael doesn't fit.
That's what she said.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll take that.
You know what? That absolutely worked. That worked. High five.
Thank you, buddy. Oh, by the way, I have one more spoiler.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us. And
You're gonna like this.
You, Mike. Goodbye.
No, seriously, Mike, what's up?
This will be worth it to you two alone.
Sure.
Is that the male, the main character male in my TG5MU? His name is Patrick Brennan.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's
it.
A really shitty name. Or it's a shitty middle name, I should say.
Thank you. That's an awesome name. All right, thank you.
All Michael, right, we're going to let you get going. Patrick has to get up early in the morning to shave his head.
Yep. You got to get more bald. Have a good night, everybody. Brennan, thank you. Michael, thank you as always, sir.
Thank you, and see you soon.
Adios, amigos.
Ciao.